In the ancient eras before the Earth was ruled by true giant dinosaurs, there existed a life form that best understood how to overcome motion with stillness. Its 9-meter-long body appeared somewhat clumsy in this world, and every single step of its thick limbs demanded immense patience and restraint. Tonight, beside the softly flickering hearth, let us step into its true life along with this story that requires no effort to remember. This dinosaur was Riojasaurus, a sauropodomorph pioneer that chose ultimate slowness to counter the world's clamor early in evolutionary history. In common perception, early ancient creatures had to rely on swift running and sharp claws to survive brutal species competition. But Riojasaurus was the exact opposite, its bodily structure destined it to move exceptionally slowly, where even turning around took an extended amount of time. Yet, it was precisely this seemingly disadvantageous slowness that allowed it to find its own way of survival at the precipice of mass extinction. It possessed the dullest nervous system on Earth, yet held an incredibly acute and precise perception of shifts in ambient temperature and the direction of the breeze. Whenever dusk arrived, as the entire Triassic plain was painted a warm caramel hue by the remnants of the sunset, it began its most solemn daily quest. It was searching for a windless, sheltered valley, and a flat rock that had basked in the sun all day, now radiating a deep, comforting warmth. On the Argentine plains over 200 million years ago, the climate was often far more volatile than we imagine. Days were unbearably hot, while nights brought bone-chilling winds. For early reptiles lacking a homeothermic system, the arrival of night was nothing less than a silent test of survival. While Coelophysis of the same era huddled tightly together in dried-up riverbeds to preserve body heat, Riojasaurus trudged slowly and solitary across the wilderness. Each of its strides seemed deeply deliberated, its pillar-like limbs stepping heavily into the soft soil, leaving behind one steady footprint after another. Its long neck swayed gently in midair, completely ignoring the small predators sprinting frantically and tearing at one another beside it. In the internal world of Riojasaurus, those creatures relying on speed to secure food often consumed their own lives prematurely in that very speed. It envied no one, it simply and calmly felt the temperature dropping in the air, perceiving the chilly wind blowing from the north. This sensitivity to the environment was an instinct forged by the pressures of its era, and the highest wisdom evolved beneath its heavy frame. It needed to find a rock wall high enough to shield it from the freezing midnight gales that could strip away all warmth. The setting sun cast its somewhat bulky body into a long, gentle shadow, resembling an ancient ascetic monk practicing solitary cultivation in the twilight. This nonconformity and slowness caused Riojasaurus plenty of hardship in its youth, nearly costing its life on multiple occasions. Its herds were never large, because most of its kind were ruthlessly eliminated by natural laws in infancy due to their inability to keep up with the pace. But the Riojasaurus before us was a miracle. Its temperament was even more serene than its peers, and it possessed an extraordinary endurance. Throughout its long life, it was pushed into corners by predators countless times, yet it never ran in panic, knowing its body could not support such movement. Its only weapon was its thick, heavy tail, alongside a flawless utilization of terrain and boulders, something requiring ultimate clarity amidst crisis. Once, a hungry Herosaurus targeted it from the brush, the agile beast circling and testing it at high speeds. Any other dinosaur might have exposed a fatal vulnerability out of terror, but Riojasaurus stood firmly in place like an unyielding monolith. It leaned the better part of its body against a steep stone wall, leaving only its thickest back facing the enemy, letting the Herosaurus roar in frustration around it. The tension in that dynamic tightened to the absolute limit in the dead air, but ultimately, the impatient predator chose to give up against its entirely unbothered stance. The price behind that decision was several claw marks left deep enough to show bone, but this taught it entirely how to peacefully coexist with its own heaviness. As the edge of the sun began to touch the western mountain ridges, the wind on the plain grew somewhat boisterous, rustling the low-growing ferns. The skin of Riojasaurus began to feel a subtle chill, and it understood that the time remaining to find a haven was running short. Yet, it still did not accelerate its pace. Its limbs maintained a constant rhythm like an ancient pendulum, walking resolutely toward a hidden canyon. It was a low-lying area cradled by two immense sandstone hills, a natural microclimate reserve in geographical terms. As it stepped deeper into this valley, the roaring winds outside began to fade gradually, until finally, nothing remained around it but its own heavy breathing. The air here was like a lake deliberately forgotten by time, calm, serene, without a single ripple, perfectly matching its fastidious demands for shelter. At the center of the valley lay several massive, dark red basalt boulders, exposed on the surface after absorbing a full day of scorching sunlight. Riojasaurus walked slowly to the largest boulder. It did not lie down immediately, but gently touched the rock surface with its thick footpad. The burning, enduring temperature seeping from inside the stone instantly spread through its massive, exhausted body. Its muscles, stiff from the long trek, began to loosen involuntarily the moment they contacted this warmth. Within this completely windless valley, Riojasaurus began to complete its most enjoyable and sacred daily sleeping ritual. It first bent its thick forelimbs deliberately, allowing its heavy chest to lower inch by inch against the giant rock radiating with deep warmth. Soon after, its massive hind limbs yielded into a kneeling position, and its entire 9-meter-long frame rested completely upon it in an exceptionally relaxed posture. As its abdomen and skin made broad contact with the warm stone surface, an intensely satisfied, low rumble escaped from deep within its throat. That sound was like a low-frequency resonance originating from the depths of the ancient earth, overflowing with gratitude toward nature, carrying a profound sense of groundedness and peace after weathering hardships. The energy accumulated by the sun throughout the day now transformed into a continuous warm current, gently enveloping it and permeating its bones and joints. The minor scrapes sustained during the day and the nerves kept taut in the wind were completely comforted at this moment. Above the valley, the first star lit up quietly in the indigo night sky, and the surrounding world slipped into darkness with absolute gentleness. Riojasaurus quietly enjoyed being enveloped by this heat, each of its breaths growing longer and lighter. The bulkiness and slowness once misunderstood by the world became the most perfect camouflage here, blending it completely with this ancient rock. Riojasaurus finally closed its eyes, which were filled with lifetimes of stories, entering the sweetest dreamland within the windless, warm valley. Its life left behind no earth-shattering roars, nor did it rule an era like the later Tyrannosaurus rex. It simply lived its life at a crawl. Yet, in this most basic and restrained manner, it demonstrated to us the ultimate gentleness a life form can display when facing a brutal environment. The sheltered valley and the heat-radiating rock it found were not just a sanctuary for its body, but a silent echo left to that clamorous era. When we feel internal anxiety, bodily exhaustion, or find ourselves shivering in the cold winds of life during the long night, we might as well think of this ancient dinosaur. Think of how it paced slowly in the twilight, and think of that giant rock that basked in the sun all day, radiating deep warmth. Try to relax your tense limbs just like Riojasaurus, drop all your defenses, and yield your body entirely to the warm bed beneath you. No matter how fierce the external winds are, they cannot blow into your internal sheltered valley. No matter how long the night is, it cannot strip away the profound sleepiness that belongs to you. The night is deep now, the final smear of twilight over the plain has completely vanished, and all living things have settled into tranquility amidst peace. May you drift into a warm and deep ancient dream accompanied by the residual warmth of the rock, within the long, satisfied breathing of Riojasaurus.